Yeah, hey guys. So today I kind of wanted to talk over some of the use cases of records either updating a specific golden record or going into a quarantine. So I know I've mentioned the word quarantine a couple times before, but essentially just think of it as a holding pen for these entities or records that were not incorporated into your model. So within that case, think of it that each domain or model has its own quarantine. You can filter records within the quarantine, and it'll give you additional information as to why it was quarantined. You could potentially resolve these records, delete them, et cetera, et cetera. But we'll get more into that. But just for now, know it as this holding pen. So we mentioned those three phases yesterday, so validation, enrichment, and incorporation. So records could be quarantined during any one of those three phases. So I just wanted to go over some typical use cases. So as you remember from yesterday, we had our record. So let's make it ID1 like we had. So that's my ID1, my social, Matt H. So that ID, as I've mentioned before, is vital because it links that source entity record to a golden record. So what if I change it to my last name instead of Matt H? So as you can see, the process completed successfully. And if I go to my golden record, as you can see, my last name was updated to Hartman. And that's because essentially we went through that flow I talked about. So is the golden record already linked? Yes. ID is one, ID is already there. If yes, could this be an update? In this scenario, it's yes. It has the proper user permissions, and then it updates the record. So as you can see here, I still have my NetSuite source established with that entity ID. And what you see is I originally created it, and I also updated it. So you can view that entity right here through that view batched entity. So there's my submitted fields and my submitted XML. Great. So what if I now want to submit that same record, but for a new ID? So just think what should happen in this scenario, because there are certain validations that go. Remember, is it a valid entity ID? Can this source contribute for this specific use case? Are there data quality steps? Are there data quality steps that can quarantine something? Is it a create? Is it an update? Does it pass the match rules? Can this be created, update a record? Will it work? So let's try this. So what's going to happen is it's going to see that it's a brand new ID. It is a valid source entity ID. Two, it's just a new ID. In addition to that, after that validation, it's going to see that this is a valid XML field. There's no data quality steps, and it's going to try to create a record. But when you create a record, as I mentioned, it has to go through my match rules. And remember, my match rules match on social security number. So what you'll see here is a potential duplicate. The entity is a potential duplicate of a golden record. You can potentially view the golden record. So as you can see, source entity ID 1 is what it's talking about because of that social security number right here. We'll get more into the quarantine in the next topic, but I just kind of wanted to explain that. So what now if I just did 1113 entity ID 2 testing user. So we're using that same entity ID as we did with that quarantine record, but we're updating everything else. So the social security number, we're updating our username, and we're updating our password with that, or our first name, last name for at least this use case. So the process completed, and let's see where it went. As you can see, it created a new record because it followed all of those data quality steps when applicable. It applied the match rules. There's no new social, so it's just a brand new record. So those are kind of the different use cases I wanted to cover with this, and then we'll kind of talk about the quarantine more as well. So just for more data for the quarantine, let's just make a new ID, let's make a new user, and let's just get more data into that quarantine for tomorrow's lesson. Great. So there's our potential duplicate again. We'll talk more about some of how to resolve these or how to delete them, items such as that tomorrow. All right, sounds good, guys. Bye.